Hey everybody, welcome. Thanks for being here. Moment of clarity. Thanks for coming to me for your moment of clarity. And I don't know why the angle of this ceiling. I feel like it looks like I'm in a tree fort or something. Like I'm just like I've got a little tree fort I'm hiding out in case they find me, or in hopes they won't find me. Thanks for being here. I've got all kinds of videos for you today. I've got videos of U.S. government officials celebrating the death of Russians. I've got video from MSNBC looking like buffoons, which is kind of their job now. They get paid extra, I think, if they look like buffoons on a regular basis. I've got new stuff on the permanent U.S. presence in Syria. Yes, permanent. So much stuff coming your way. Anyway, please hit subscribe. Please hit thumbs up. Please do all that good stuff. And thanks for being here. And oh yeah, one new note is that these live streams, I have been leaving them up just forever, and they will now only stay up for roughly a day or several hours to a day. And then they will only live longer than that at leecamp.net, which is my locals page. So I hope you will join up over there. However, there will be tons of free clips going out all the time. But thank you for joining me on the live version. All right, so let's start out with, I said U.S. government officials celebrating the death of Russians. And unfortunately, that is Lindsey Graham. I know it's weird to call him a U.S. government official because that sounds somehow official, whereas he is just an annoying little troll of sorts. Yet he is, by definition, a U.S. government official, which is really problematic. I don't know why they've ever let him into that office that he's held for roughly 900 years. But here he is talking to Zelensky, and some of it's a little hard to hear, but and his best bud Zelensky. You'll see they hug, they make out, they then shave each other's necks. It's a very intimate thing that goes on between them. Best buds. But anyway, this clip is, I mean, these people are sociopaths, and so maybe I shouldn't be surprised. It's insane.
Nice to meet you. How are you, sir? We have, I think, the whole meeting.
Thank you very much. Thanks, United States people of the United States, for all big support. President Biden, bipartisan support, Congress, and really, we thank you so much. Free or die.
Free or die.
Now you are free,
Yes.
and we will be.
And the Russians are dying.
It's the best money we've ever spent.
Thank you so much.
Did you catch that? Zelensky says, live free or die. And he says, we're free. Lindsey Graham says, and the Russians are dying. Best money we ever spent. These are goddamn sociopaths. I mean, that's the definition of best money we ever spent. Sending $100 billion to Ukraine, partially going into the pockets of Nazis. But reports by CBS and CNN saying that 70%, up to 70% of the weaponry is not actually getting to the battle zone, is actually just disappearing into terrorist hands or whoever's hands, whoever feels like they need some rocket launchers. These people are sociopaths at minimum. And, you know, Lindsey Graham is a heap of garbage. That's a given. But this is and this is the aspect of this that I don't think you may have heard this clip. I mean, they might have even played this clip on MSNBC, but for all I know, no, actually they probably wouldn't, because they probably like that the celebration of people dying in war. War is horrific all around. And so there should be no celebration of, isn't this fun? People are dying. Cool. Great. Best money we ever spent. Look at him smiling. Let me ask you this. How many Americans are dying in this? Oh, essentially zero, except for the American journalists that are targeted when they go over there. I mean, I don't know if any of them have died, but they are targeted. However, essentially zero. Meanwhile, so it's Ukrainians dying. It's Ukrainians, it's Russians, it's Russian Ukrainians. It's, let's remember that 15,000 were killed before Russia even invaded. 15,000 were killed in the Donbass region by Ukrainian fighters, Ukrainian neo-Nazis, etc. And here they are, bros hanging out, celebrating the death of many people. Let's see this again.
And really, we thank you so much. Free or die.
Free or die.
Now you are free,
Yes.
and we will be.
And the Russians are dying.
It's the best money we've ever spent.
Thank you so much.
No, it's, we're on four, let's see, it makes life possible.
Yes.
Just totally revolting. And they made a point there. Zelensky made a point of saying bipartisan effort. Isn't it lovely that the two parties that secretly agree on 90% of the structural issues of our country, isn't it lovely to see them just coming together to kill innocent people, to destroy a country? I mean, isn't it beautiful to see? And, I don't even need to get into what the hell Zelensky is. I mean, with his millions, if not billions, in tax havens and the hidden away. Seymour Hersh recently revealed that $400 million, the Pentagon knows about $400 million that's been skimmed off the top by Zelensky and his government as we send billions, hundreds of billions to Ukraine. But 400 million, not really that much compared to 100 billion. 400 million, just a drop in the bucket. Go ahead, take a taste. Take a taste. $400 million. It's just a taste, right? Just
Nice to meet you. How are you, sir? Good day.
sorry about that. But okay, so I want to now show this is Lindsey Graham again. He was there with McCain. You see him in the background there. This is Lindsey Graham from 2016. So this is after the Maidan coup that the U.S. backed. Lindsey Graham and John McCain, both of whom never seen a war they didn't love, never seen a country they didn't want to bomb. They go over to Ukraine and they tell, so this is years. And by the way, you could show this clip and other clips to people who act like Russia just invaded out of the blue. We would never, this doesn't mean I support the Russian invasion because I'm opposed to war. I'm not for any war. However, for those people who think like, we had no idea what happened. They just, we had no idea they were going to do something crazy like that. Our senators, our Congress people were over there in years earlier. 2016. They were also there in 2013, 2014. Victoria Nuland was in the square handing out whatever it was, roses and chocolates or something, creating the color revolution, the Maidan revolution, U.S. backed in 2014. So here is McCain and Lindsey Graham in 2016. Going over there, they're meeting with Ukrainian officials, but they're also meeting with Ukrainian military, many of whom are Nazis. And they're just telling them, you know what? We're with you. We got your back. So this is at a time, 2016, 2017, this is at a time where the U.S. was very much supposed to not be at war with Russia, right? This was at a time when there were all kinds of partnerships. There were all kinds of economic partnerships going on. Corporations, I mean, still to this day, there's some cooperation, but corporations were completely working together with Russian corporations, etc. And here they are in Ukraine telling the Ukrainian military that we're going to support you even as 15,000 people are killed in the Donbass region in Ukraine. And those were culturally Russian people were killed, being killed, basically for things like speaking Russian in public. Anyway, here's John McCain and Lindsey Graham.
Your fight is our fight.
Ваша боротьба – це наша боротьба.
You're just think of that sentence. Your fight is our fight. He's saying that to Nazis in Ukraine. For those of you who are American, how many of you feel like their fight is our fight? How many of you feel like, yeah, absolutely, I am in this equally? Is Lindsey Graham going to be on the front lines? Is he going to take his sociopathic little troll face over there and actually be in the middle of gunfire? Your fight is our fight. Oh, really? Really, Lindsey? Yeah? You're going to be out there? No. It's more like your proxy war is our proxy war. Your war is our proxy war is what it is. And again, this is 2016.
2017 will be the year of offense.
Рік 2017 рік буде ріком нападу.
all of us will go back to Washington and we will push the case against Russia.
Ми всі повернемося до Вашингтону і ми будемо відстоювати санкції проти Росії.
Enough of a Russian aggression.
Досить вже російської агресії.
It is time for them to pay a heavier price.
Час вже щоб вони заплатили важчу.
So there you go, Lindsey Graham speaking in 2016, long before the Russian invasion. So for anyone who thought that the U.S. was not involved in this way earlier, that the U.S. had no role in this way earlier, you can watch these videos. And here's the same guy just yesterday or 2 days ago telling Zelensky, Russians are dying, best money we ever spent. This is a straight progression. And you can actually watch the videos and see the progression, even with the same goddamn actors. Sure, McCain is now dead. You know, at least there's one evil man that actually did not live to 100 like Kissinger. But here is Lindsey Graham in 2016 in front of the Ukrainian military telling them years before the Russian invasion, we will give you anything you need. We will send you weaponry. I mean, what does anything you need really mean, right? We'll send you weaponry. We'll send you aid. We'll send you advising. We'll send you satellite maps, data. We'll send you anything you need to try and drain and bleed Russia, which is the main goal for the United States of this proxy war in Ukraine. And Lindsey Graham continues to out it publicly, to reveal the truth, celebrating the death of Russians and saying it's the best money we ever spent. You know, it's also the best money we ever spent because it goes into the hands of weapons contractors, right?
Your fight is our fight.
Sorry. It goes in the hands of weapon contractors that, you know, fund Lindsey Graham. So in many ways, that money ends up benefiting him. I want to show you some of the amounts of how much aid has been sent to Ukraine. So here's some charts showing how much aid has been sent to Ukraine. Now, the reason this does not have a total of over 100 billion. It says total is less than 100. What is it? We got 60, 70, 80 something. Let's see if they have that 75 billion somewhere in there. The reason, there it is at the top. Always a good idea when you're trying to add up a chart. Just look to see whether they put the goddamn number at the top of the chart. Man, Lee, you were really knocking it out the park today. Total expenditure 76 billion, and I know many of you know it's over 100 billion. So why does it say 76? Because this is the amount that had already been sent. This is not the promised amount. The U.S. has now allotted over 100 billion. So that's the difference in numbers. Anyway, so here's what's been sent over there. Humanitarian, 3.9 billion. Yeah, and whatever that means. Emergency food assistance, healthcare. I mean, let's be honest, though. It's the U.S. doesn't actually give a flying crap about healthcare of the Ukrainian people. So chances are even that money is going towards like healthcare of the soldiers. Like it's probably the various medical devices and things the U.S. has sent there to help Ukrainian soldiers, Ukrainian Nazis be well enough to continue to fight, because the U.S. wouldn't actually send just healthcare to Ukrainian people. We don't actually care. There's actually a story that doesn't get enough coverage, which is we have promised Ukrainian refugees can come to the United States, and even they many of them are having an incredibly tough time getting into the U.S., getting citizenship, when they're told by the U.S., oh yeah, we are going to take all those refugees. Hell, we created this thing. This is our proxy war. The least we can do is have you over at our place, right? Least we can do is have you over for a meal. And then they show up and just a bunch of bureaucratic, wait, you come from where? I haven't heard of that country. Is it near Lithuania? Ukrainia, you said? Not familiar. Financial aid, which is that's the 400 million sent to sent to pocketed by Zelensky and his friends. Financial, $26 billion. Security assistance, that means weapons of war, $18 billion. Weapons and equipment, again means weapons of war, $23 billion. Grants and loans for weapons and equipment, again means weapons of war, weapons for killing, $4.7 billion. So let's see. Maybe there's one more chart in here. NATO allies are particularly wary of being pulled directly into the hostilities, which would dramatically raise the risk of nuclear war. However, as the fighting has progressed, they have steadily shed their reluctance to give Ukraine more sophisticated assets. Oh, yeah. And then there's one more chart that breaks down. This is the type of weaponry that continues to be sent over there. And I think the most important thing about this chart is apparently whoever put it together, the Center for Foreign Relations, they didn't realize that they titled the chart How Ukraine is Tapping the U.S. Arsenal, but ARS for short. So literally they titled this chart How Ukraine is Tapping U.S. ARS, which... inappropriate, okay? Inappropriate. In a time of war, please don't title your charts how they're tapping our arse. Okay? Could you do that for me? Could you do me that one favor? If we're going to send $100 billion over to Nazis, the least you can do is not title the chart how they're tapping our ass, okay? Can you do that? I don't think that's a lot to ask. Seriously. Jesus, you people. And then I'm not going to go through the whole list, but they go through all infantry and arms, air defense, air-to-ground missiles, manned aircraft, artillery, explosive drones, surveillance drones, coastal defense, tanks and armored carriers. It's an insane amount of weaponry sent, again, to try and bleed Russia. But let's see. I also have that number. You know how I said that was not the full amount that has been allotted for Ukraine. Here is the actual full amount allotted of weapons sent to Ukraine. It now stands at $113 billion of aid. Don't you love when you can send things for killing others to a country and call it aid? We're giving aid to, I mean, you're sending stuff to murder others in your proxy war. It's called aid. It's like calling a golden shower lemonade. You know, aid is not appropriate. It's not, this is not aid. These are murderous, psychopathic weapons sent for a psychopathic business. This is a business deal. These are corporations involved in a business deal of killing. And Lindsey Graham, who says, your war is our war, he ain't there. He ain't on the front lines. No, he's hiding in his little hovel somewhere. Since Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine less than 1 year ago, Congress has approved more than $113 billion of aid and military assistance to support the Ukrainian government and allied nations. The fiscal year 2023 omnibus appropriations package included an additional $47 billion of emergency funding to provide humanitarian, military, and economic assistance to Ukraine on top of the $65 billion of funding already approved in 3 other emergency funding packages enacted by Congress. Bipartisan, because they all agree. They all agree on pushing us towards nuclear war, pushing us towards the goddamn end times, pushing us towards a horrific destruction of a country that was doing quite well. Comparatively, compared to how it's doing now, Ukraine was doing quite well until the U.S. insisted on putting them in the middle of this bloodbath and making sure that Zelensky did not create peace. Now, he seems to have no interest in peace now, but when this thing first started, I showed you the article, showed you the information that the U.S. via Boris Johnson went running to end the peace talks, running to make sure peace talks could not happen. I mean, they already had started and they were getting close. They were getting close to being completed. There would have been an agreement between Russia and Ukraine, and we go running in there with the UK to say, there will be no peace on our watch. No, 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 no. And in case you've forgotten, how close we are to nuclear war, this, even covered by the Washington Post, the leaks have shown that Russia nearly shot down a British spy plane near Ukraine. Near Ukraine. And I think most of you understand that if Russia shoots down a British plane, I mean, that is essentially a world war. That is a catastrophe of unbelievable levels. And this, you might go, well, that doesn't say a lot for Russia. They should have known that was a British plane. Okay, fine, maybe. But it also doesn't say a lot for us and Britain flying planes in very close to Russian airspace, making Russia think that maybe they're Ukrainian planes. I don't know what they thought. But the point is, they actually fired a missile. The Russian jet actually fired a missile. They say in the article it's unclear whether it was accidentally fired or they fired it and just missed. But either way, they fired a missile at what turned out to be a British spy plane. And if that had been hit, who knows where we'd be right now. This is the level of psychopathy that our leaders are. Psychopathic morons. A combination. I've tried to get somebody to create this word, whatever it is, a combination of morons and psychopaths. Okay? We need that word. We need it immediately. We need it yesterday because we are run by psychopathic morons. Oh, God. Anyway. And although this was covered by the Washington Post, these are the portion of the leaks that got one article and then moved on. Because there's a lot came out in those leaks, in those Pentagon leaks. And the mainstream media was quick to push the stories that were useful for the U.S., the stories about how much of the Russian military they've infiltrated and things like that. And they were quick to try and bury articles like this that show how close we were to nuclear war. So they did cover some of it, but they just covered it quickly and move on. It's a nice tactic that the mainstream media likes to use. Okay, so that's Lindsey Graham. That's what he's been up to the past few days. And I want to move now to Syria, to new proof that the U.S. is basically remaining in Syria permanently. We are now in invading force. I mean, we've been in invading force in Syria for a while now, but we are setting up as if that the parts of Syria are now parts of the U.S. And I want to know how many Americans out there, how many Americans really, they're like, yeah, that's what I want. Even right-wingers, most right-wing Americans that I know would be like, well, it was good we went in there. You know, he needed to be bombed, but why are we still there again? I mean, even they are like, wait, we're permanently in Syria? So this is just from the other day. The U.S. is building a new base in Syria amid Arab League return. So Syria's been accepted back into the Arab League, which infuriated the U.S. And this is basically the U.S. response. The U.S.-led global coalition in Syria. Yeah, it's a real coalition. We got lots of folks just backing us up. We got the UK, and we got, what was that other one? Guam. And is there one called Nauru? Is there a country called Nauru? Are they? So it's three. There's three. I think that's the coalition. Pretty sure. And Guam did send they're not sending any soldiers, but they did send a strongly worded coconut to the fight. Okay, so don't act like they haven't been involved. Don't act like they're not sending their best and their brightest. They're very, you should have seen some of the words used in that strongly worded coconut that they sent to add to the fight. The U.S.-led global coalition in Syria is building a new military base in the northern province of Raqqa, according to local media reports. The base will be in the, oh man, I got to pronounce that, in the Al-Sawadiyah area west of the city of Tabqa. A source told, we know where it is. Stop throwing in words I can't pronounce. It's just 2 miles south of Wagaduksha. And then it's also 1.5 fathoms to the left. Okay. Stop giving me words I can't pronounce. Jesus. Everyone knows where it is. I mean, no, we don't. But still, we get the point. Plans for the new base. Oh, God. Somebody help me. Plans for the new base come as coalition forces began to equip a base just south. Oh, God, here we go again. Just south of the city of Raqqa. Is it near any other cities you'd like for me to try and say? Just south of the city of Raqqa a few weeks ago. The development comes amid ongoing attacks by the Islamic State group in Syria. Well, isn't it funny how you get attacked when you're there? You know, I would say there's a direct correlation, things dovetailing and all that shite. There's a direct correlation between attacks on U.S. military and us being there. They almost always go together. Very rarely are we attacked when we're not there. Okay. In fact, I'd say nary a once have we been attacked when we aren't there. The development comes and attacked there when we aren't there. Sure, there was 9/11, but anyway. This comes at a time when Syria regained full-fledged membership in Arab League after it was reinstated in the bloc after 10 years. The move was seen as a huge blow to the U.S. Not the good kind of blow. This is the type of blow you don't want. You don't. This is not. It's the bad kind. You know, not like Ukraine tapping our arse. This is. You know what? I think that all these people writing about what's going on in foreign policy, they're really sexually repressed. All right. If you're making charts titled tapping that arse and you're saying that Saudi Arabia was a big blow to the U.S., come on, guys. Just go out and get laid somewhere and, work it out. You don't have to put it into your writing, which many analysts say is losing its political grip in the region. You think the U.S. is losing our political grip in the region just slightly because we've decided to create a proxy war against Russia, thereby sending it sprinting into the arms of China and sending many other countries sprinting into the arms of BRICS so that they can stand up against the petrodollar because we've said, hey, all your money that you have in U.S. dollars and in U.S. central banks, we're not going to value any of it. We're going to steal it from you like we did with Afghanistan, like we did with Russia, like we did with Venezuela. If you have any money that isn't in your own currency in your own countries, we are there to steal it. We are just ongoing thieves. So, why do they want to turn against the petrodollar all of a sudden? It's a very good kind of currency. I don't understand. The move was seen as a huge... I did that. Okay, so we just built another permanent base in Syria, another one. This yet again signals that the U.S. has a permanent position in Syria. How is that not like an ongoing invasion? How is that not an affront to Syrian sovereignty? How is that not a stealing of their land? And yet we only talk, the mainstream media, the UN, the EU only talks about Ukraine, only talks about Russia's invasion of Ukraine, never a mention of a very similar invasion, stealing of land in Syria by the U.S. Funny how that works. But, and I played this the other day, but definitely worth seeing again. Hilarious clip of the UN spokesperson trying to address this incredible hypocrisy, just mind-blowing hypocrisy. And he's you'll see. You'll see how good his answer is. He just knocks the answer out of the park.
With at this stage, there's been a war.
But is that
there's
because
been-
it sounds very familiar. This week we talk a lot about the UN.
Hold on real quick. I forgot to say that at the beginning of this clip, I didn't want to play the whole 4-minute clip, but at the beginning of this clip, the reporter asks about U.S. troops that were hit in an attack in Syria. They said 4 troops were injured or killed. I can't remember the number, but in an attack on a U.S. military outpost in Syria. So that was his initial question. So this is the then back and forth.
Charter, the international law and relative resolutions. But it sounds to me a foreign presence, foreign military based presence in another country without invitation sounds like something else to me, you know.
I'll leave your analysis to you. There's at this stage.
What's the difference
at this stage,
between
there's
Syria,
no-
the situation in Syria and the situation in Ukraine?
There's no U.S. armed forces
Mhm.
inside of Syria.
Oh,
And so I don't have a. It's not a
You-
parallel
you-
situation.
You're
to some of the
sure
others.
there's no U.S. military personnel?
I believe there's military activity.
Yeah.
But in terms of ground presence in Syria, I'm not aware of that.
Okay, 5 U.S. service members were injured in that attack. If there were no U.S. soldier service members in Syria, how could they got injured? That's weird, right? Should I ask
Yeah.
you about that? And by the way, if you're talking about the resolution, the international law, here is the resolution from.
I just love the statement. That's weird, right? That's kind of interesting, right? Is that an interesting thing?
Security Council 2254, I believe. It says in its PA paragraph, reaffirming its strong commitment to the sovereignty, independence, unity, and territorial integrity of the Syrian Arab Republic, and to the purposes and principles of the Charter of the United Nations.
Yes, I'm aware of that, and as you
Yep.
see, that is accepted by the members of the Security Council itself.
Yeah, so again, back to my question, is that illegal to have presence in Syria for the US base? According to
I
the
d-
relevant resolution that I
The
just read out.
yes, the relevant resolution does call for that, and we call on all countries to respect that. I wouldn't go beyond that at this stage.
I wouldn't go beyond the fact that I cannot answer that question. Brain short circuit. I hope that in that canteen that he just took a deep, long sip of, it was vodka, because that guy needs it. But this is this is the bullshit that is spouted by UN spokespeople, by US spokespeople. Basically, the US is this giant ogre force that forces them to be utterly hypocritical, and they don't. When actually push comes to shove, when you actually ask, when they're actually pressured, they don't have the answer for the bullshit that the US is doing. They have no answer for it. There is no answer. Oh, we're because you guys talked a lot about the sovereignty of Ukraine and Russia needs to get out and sovereignty. Does that not apply to Syria? Well, let me take a long sip from this mystery canteen, and then I will have an answer for next question. That's their answer. They got nothing. They got goddamn nothing. But yeah, so the U.S. now has a permanent presence in Syria. And how much do you hear about that on your mainstream media? Is that a lot of coverage about the U.S. having a permanent presence in Syria? U.S. permanently owning a portion of Syria? Is that something that maybe should be talked about amongst our fellow countrymen and women? Is that perhaps something we should care about? And in case you need a quick refresher course, Syria is just a few of the 900 military bases around the world that the U.S. has. $1 trillion spent a year on these bases and other military games. This resource at World Beyond War shows as many of the bases as they were able to locate. worldbeyondwar.org/no bases. No dash bases. And you can actually zoom in and see detailed satellite images of these bases. Meanwhile, while we have that many, so remember, keep this image of for those of you listening on the podcast, you'll just have to imagine the world covered in dots. But keep this image of all these dots in your head as I now bring up, depending on how quickly I can do it, now bring up an image of all of the Chinese bases, China's bases around the world. I just thought I'd show you an image of those just to be fair. I didn't want to only show the U.S. bases. So here is all the China's bases. It's so for those of you who watch the video, it's right there. That's the one, Djibouti, a tiny little country, basically part of Ethiopia, tiny little country, and there's a Chinese base there, and that pretty much wraps it up. That wraps up my presentation of all Chinese bases outside of China, right there. And believe it or not, this image that I'm showing comes from like a Washington Post article talking about how threatening it is that the U.S. has a base. Alfred in the comment section is asking about Russian bases. Last I checked, there are 20 or fewer Russian bases around the world. And I think almost all of those, maybe 18, are in former Soviet bloc countries like Belarus. So it is close allies of Russia, and the number is 18 to 20. Now, I, of course, would prefer that countries had 0 military bases outside of their country. However, 18 or 20 versus 900 that we can count is, I'd say that's one-sided. I'm going to go one-sided on that. One-sided. So the U.S. continues our effort to own the world via military. We are losing the ability to own the world via the petrodollar. And so now we are moving on to we've obviously always been doing this effort to put military bases around the world. We've been doing that for years, many years. However, that seems to be increasingly the one thing that the U.S. has, which, if we're willing to use all those military bases, means basically world war. It really is just a horrifying aspect that the U.S. has these bases around the world. And they barely get talked about. And we build new ones, like in Syria, in a sovereign country that doesn't want us there, and it gets little to no coverage. And when it does get coverage in mainstream media, it is the U.S. is adding security to the region. That's the expression they have to use, security to the region, because if they can't say security to Syria, because when you invade a country, like if I invaded your house, I ran in with guns and I said, I'm bringing you security. And you're like, Jesus Christ, God damn it, get out of my house. What are you doing here? And I'm like, everybody lay on the floor. I'm bringing security. You're like, God, but look, can I put on pants? No, this is security. So they can't say they're bringing security to Syria. So instead they say the region. By invading a variety of countries, we're bringing security to the region. That's what we do. All right, now I'm going to move on to the latest in the Mexico versus the U.S. battle that seems to be increasing and why it's increasing. I'm going to get into that in 1 second. However, the rest of this will only be at leecamp.net and rumble.com/leecamp. It is free to watch at rumble.com/leecamp. So I hope you will join me over there, rumble.com/leecamp. For the lazy people, I will look up the link for you. Sheesh. As if I don't do enough. All right. There's the link. Join me over at rumble.com/leecamp. I've had to do that. Why you're asking why, push people to join Rumble. Well, because most of my pages have been deleted, shadow banned. My Facebook is shown to essentially 0.01% of my followers. My large YouTube has been banned globally. Over 2,000 videos banned globally. So I've had to go to a platform that is not going to ban me, and that is rumble.com/LeeCamp. So join me over there. Also, quick note, going forward, these live streams will not be free forever. They'll be free live, and then they'll, maybe be free for the rest of the day or something. And then they will only be available at leecamp.net. So it's not that I'm, taking them away from you. You can still watch them live. But soon the full live stream will only be available at leecamp.net. That's my locals page. Minimum to join is $6 a month. So it's about 38 cents an episode. Hopefully, that is something you see as worth chipping in, 38 cents in order to get this content. And, but other than that, there will be tons of free clips I'll keep putting up at youtube.com/momentofclarity and rumble.com/LeeCamp. So anyway, rest of this is at Rumble and LeeCamp.net. And for all of you at LeeCamp.net, thank you.